Are you the famed Argrik, the talent that blossomed on the battlefield? Argrik nearly laughed. The enemy knew his name. After a lifetime of being a nobody, he had not expected this to feel good. An honor, Duke Thermion. I know your name as well. Haha, you know my name? I do. One man kneeling, one standing. Both already knew how this ended. One of 6 hexaclass knights of the Altheon Empire. One day with him was enough to teach Argrik a new word. Black Wave. So you faced me knowing all that. A shame to waste a talent so soon. Tell me, any intention of surrendering? Obviously. I was born on a battlefield. I'll die on one too. Steel met steel. The Duke barely moved. Argrik attacked. The Duke replied with a sigh. Thermion struck like an old man swatting a moth. Sparks. Dust. Argrik kept his feet, barely. Despite saying that, I can see regret lingering in your eyes. You would have made a good rival, if you'd been allowed to grow a little more. But if this is what you wish, then in your next life, let go of your regrets. Thermion raised his blade. The world narrowed to one point, and the blade fell. The war between Drennic and Altheon had lasted his entire life. His mother was a young widow, a refugee with a small son. She stood by a burning village and held him close. She took her final breath while he was still small. And then he was a war orphan in a world that knew exactly what to do with one. Other children fled. He followed because they were faster than starving. Other orphans wore his face, some stronger, most hungrier. It was a life made entirely for survival. He would do anything to live. At 14, the Empire decided he was old enough to die for it. His first battlefield, a city already burning before he arrived. Men in masks, men with spears. He could not tell which side was which. He fought because the alternative was a quieter death. On that field, something inside him woke up. And there, my talents awakened. A mana core ignited in his chest. The first one. The one that changed him. His movements sharpened. His senses, too. The boy outgrew the soldier overnight. Within a year, the army stopped calling him orphan. They called him commander. I plan to recommend you for the next special knight appointment. He had already surpassed 3 mana cores. The 4th made him a quad core. Argrik listened, very still. He had not planned to be promised the world today. With your talent, joining the 5 hexaclass knights would not be impossible. He had finally been handed the door he had spent his whole life trying to open. After this war, he thought, after this one last war, I might finally find peace from this weary life. Away from this weary life, he pictured a small house, a wife, a child. None of them existed yet. Then the order came. One last battlefield to clear. Argrik went, because Argrik always went. He was finally about to achieve everything he had ever wanted. The strike landed before he could lift his guard. Argrik went down. The black wave had not been a metaphor. "Oh, what a shame," Thermion said. He sounded like he meant it. Argrik thought faintly. I wanted to reach higher. He had wanted a family. That more than anything. A house, a small, noisy table. People who knew his real name. The blade swung once more. The world tilted. One green eye stayed open a moment longer than the rest of him. Light fled the field. So did Argrik. And like that, his dream was pitifully crushed. He fell through smoke, through cracked ground, through whatever came after. He thought it would end there. But a bright room, 2 faces above him. Oh, is our little Dane finally awake? Haha, he's a good boy. He doesn't even cry. What is this? Argrik's first new thought was a question for himself. How are his eyes so clear and beautiful? The woman sounded sincere. I'm sure this child is a gift from God. Her husband agreed at once. Child? Argrik thought. He had been a grown man with a sword 3 minutes ago. Dane, you must become a fantastic spearman, like your father. Father? Thought the baby, who used to command an army. Dane will become a fantastic assassin, announced the mother cheerfully. Honey? The father's career plan was already in trouble. How are you going to turn our youngest into an assassin? That's horrifying. A man should use a spear. It is the most beautiful, complete martial art. An assassin slips in unseen and slips out unseen. That's much cooler. Argrik had thought his end was on a battlefield. Apparently not. He had reincarnated. That, by itself, was almost manageable. Less manageable, he had reincarnated in the Altheon Empire, his enemy, as the youngest son of a certain count, no less. Then let's just do this. We'll teach him both. The parents agreed on a compromise. Neither. Born in their later years, he was their final project. They intended to enjoy it. "My lord, we have arrived." The coachman, blissfully unaware of the debate inside. "What? Already?" The count looked disappointed the ride was over. "Now, Lily, please, take my hand." "Ah, what if the castle staff sees us?" She was, in his opinion, blushing. "I'm only trying to hold my wife's hand." Why would that matter? Careful, careful. Dane was passed between them like a small, fragile vase. Above them, the towers of House Sogres caught the afternoon light. "Oh my, it looks like Dane is happy to be back home," the maids agreed. Dane smiled, loudly, the way babies smile when their plan is working. A house like this, wealth, doting parents, a name nobody had heard scream on a battlefield. Spreading his talents, he thought, might be easier than he had ever dared to hope. Last time, the second son of House Sogres was reborn into a body he didn't ask for. The estate gates loomed above him like a verdict. Inside, the maids were already whispering about him. He had a sister. She did not knock. His new family was loud, blonde, and unreasonably proud. A castle sat above the valley, brick red, and watching. House Sogres had stood for 200 years. Today, it expected another miracle. Many had died for their houses. Sogres had buried more than most. His ancestors had fought rebellions for the royal crown. Chained to that crown, the house never asked for thanks. They simply kept polishing one weapon and striking with it. Generations of spearmen, one unbroken line. Aim, thrust, look at that. This, he learned early, is called a spear. He'd seen one before. In another life, it had gone right through him. His new father held the weapon like it was an old friend. The tale, my father's. Dane had read books in this house older than entire kingdoms. He understood by age 4 what his name meant. Surely, he thought, surely they don't expect another one of these from me. His mother and sister laughed at something. Probably him. His mother was beautiful. Too beautiful to be married to a man who carried a spear to dinner. His siblings had nicknames for him. None of them were polite. On her good days, his mother wandered into his room and asked nothing. "Dane, dear, are you bored?" "Always," he wanted to say. He said, "No, mother." She kissed his forehead and drifted out, and he went back to memorizing a world that was supposed to be impossible. His sister, on the other hand, never drifted. She charged. "Look at this, one of mine. Pretty good, right?" It was a dragon. The dragon had 3 legs. "Marvelous," he said, with the diplomacy of a much older man. She left to draw more. Somewhere, a 4th leg was being added. Outside, the elder siblings did what elder siblings do. He's quiet for a 4-year-old. He's strange for a 4-year-old. Dane heard them, of course. 4-year-olds always do. He let it pass. He had bigger problems than gossip. "Class 6 aura," said one tutor, flatly. At least. Magic ran in the family, so did pretending it didn't. A glowing book lay open on the floor. Nobody was carrying it. I thought this couldn't get any worse. Then his sister found him. She had brought another drawing. He was beginning to suspect a pattern. "Knife! Knife!" she explained. It was a dragon, possibly. The dragon held cutlery. "I'll see you later," Dane said, evenly. He meant it as a threat. The family portrait hung in the great hall. 4 faces, 1 mustache. Each of them, in their own way, was already a legend. My father, the hexaclass spearman, top of his class, top of the army, top, frankly, of the food chain. His mother had once been a court mage, quietly, the best of her year. His sister was already being scouted by 3 swordmasters. And his eldest brother, the genius mage, 16 years old. 3 published papers, 2 pet salamanders. He had cast his first spell at 4. Naturally, the tower had survived. Most things around him did not. And then there was little Dane, the runt of an impossible litter. And the real prodigy, they whispered, is supposed to be him? Memory hit him then. Fire, black sky. In another life, he had been a soldier. He had died facing the same fire. The fire faded. The hall came back. It is what every Sogres becomes, he reminded himself, or has to refuse. He still wasn't sure which option terrified him more. The ceremony floor was set. A circle, a pedestal, a stack of objects. On his 4th birthday, every Sogres child picked one. One object, one path. The choosing. Dane stood at the edge. The whole house waited. The bell rang. Servants moved into place. His mother straightened his collar one last time. "Whatever you pick, dear, we will love you." Her voice did not promise it. The hall behind them was already full. Half the nobility had shown up. Some came to witness greatness. Most came to gossip later. A herald in red announced the family. The Sogres line walked in, with a 4-year-old at the front. The throne room was gilded enough to embarrass a temple. His father waited at the top of the dais, beside the spear. It really was a beautiful weapon. He hated how much he meant that. Today, the young master would choose what kind of warrior he became. Or whether he becomes one at all, added a noble in the back. An old servant glared at the noble. Wisely, the noble shut up. The ceiling stretched into gold. Dane felt very, very small. Doors opened. The court rose. An aisle of nobility, 400 deep. His siblings flanked him. None of them quite smiled. His mother nudged him forward. "Pick wisely, sweetheart. They're staring." "Yes, mother," he said. "I'd noticed." He stopped at the line. Sweat. What do I do? Everyone is waiting, he thought, for me to pick the object they placed. His father grinned. "Our little Dane probably can't help but reach for Dragontail." Dragontail, the family spear, older than the kingdom. "It is what every Sogres has chosen," the priest said. All 5. Beside it, a treatise on magic, his brother's choice once. Behind that, a fencer's glove, his sister, last winter. A merchant's pouch, a gold bar, a bishop's seal, and in the corner, a small, empty journal nobody had ever picked. Dane looked at all of them. He felt the heat of every gaze in the room. At this rate, my brother will be the one who falls asleep first, Dane thought. The gold bar shone like a polite suggestion. Then he remembered his old life, the war that had taken him. He had not survived because of a spear, or a spell, or a coin. He had survived, briefly, because he knew all 3. He took one step forward. The nobles leaned in. Pens hovered. Bets were on Dragontail. Dane reached out his small hand and touched the spear first. Light burst from his palm. The crowd gasped. "What is he doing? He's gone for one already." "Wait, both hands?" A second light bloomed, then a third. Dane stood in a small storm of his own making. He looked terrified. The room fell silent. Every object on the line was glowing. A bishop dropped his cup. A duke whispered to his wife. The wife whispered to her god. "Do you see that? Is that real?" "He must be cheating." "It can't be," said the priest gently. "That isn't how it works." His parents stood frozen at the edge. His sister, for once, said nothing. Then the journal lifted off its stand on its own. The same journal nobody had ever picked. Light filled the hall like a struck bell. "That book is real?" someone whispered. "It hadn't been a decoration after all," the priest mumbled. The pages flipped themselves and stopped on a blank line. Dane looked at his own hand. He hadn't moved. "Then you'll need to choose all of them," the priest said, voice shaking. His sister stared at him, mouth open. "Eh, all of them?" Dane allowed himself, briefly, to be 4 years old. At the back of the hall, an old butler smiled to himself. The prodigy of House Sogres had finally arrived. A 7-year-old heir trained with a spear taller than himself. Each strike landed where the last one had. His eyes held the focus of a much older man. The spear sang. The training dummy did not. He had practiced this motion 10,000 times. Now, at last, breath caught up to him. His father watched, arms folded, judgment pending. Well done. You have polished the technique perfectly. Thank you, father. Dane Sogres, age 7, bowed. Then his father reached for something hidden behind him. A servant arrived, carrying a long, wrapped box. Dane recognized the shape immediately. Father, is this an early birthday present? 7 years old deserves a real weapon. Inside, Dane thought, a luckier child has not been born. Happy 7th birthday in advance, Dane. Inside the box lay a spear, long and quiet. Thank you, father. I will use it well. Other children got toys. He got an heirloom. The black spear, a weapon paired to the family technique. Dane lifted it. It's so light. His father had requested it, sized for a child's grip. Then his father's voice turned serious. Dane, do you remember the technique we have been practicing? Dane lowered the spear and nodded. Evening came. The lesson was not over. A lighter spear should make this easier, no? Correct, but a spear is harder to wield than a sword. Every weapon has its trade. The spear demands more. Even so, you will become stronger than I am. Yes, Dane said. I will keep that in mind. All right, tired yet? The father asked. Once you've formed aura, the rest is repetition. Dane closed his eyes and breathed in. Then he thrust the spear. Light flared along the shaft. Real light. Amazing! The servant girl could only stare. He had only thrust the spear, but the air had answered. The new spear absorbed aura as if it had been waiting. This was no longer a child's practice. This was a true technique. Tell me, how many days have you trained on this? Dane counted carefully. Honesty mattered more than modesty. About 6 months, father. 6? The father's composure cracked just slightly. If he had not seen it himself, he would not have believed it. Try it again, with your new spear this time. Relax your mind, forget the thrust, trust the spear. Dane closed his eyes. He had done this many times. Yes, father. Dane raised the black spear. Honestly, I'm still a beginner at this. Inwardly, he had practiced this a great deal. All right, time to give it everything. He set his stance. His father watched, refusing to blink. It took me 7 years to implement this technique. Dane, how did you do that? Dane blinked. He had expected praise, not an interrogation. At the moment of the thrust, I gathered power and released it. You gathered it, and then stopped the flow? Dane, did you form a mana core? At 7, you formed it while just breathing. A genius has been born into our house. I suspected it since you were younger. Now I am certain. One day, son, you will be a living legend. That night, in private, the father told his wife everything. The 7th birthday of Dane Sogres, youngest of House Sogres. The estate filled with guests in family colors. Long tables, loud laughter, a noble's idea of a birthday. Every minor noble in the region had found an excuse to attend. How long has it been? Someone laughed. Duke Boyle, how have you been? Geez, no need to be formal. Talk to me as you always have. Some nobles enter a room. The Duke of Thermion entered a chapter. Moreover, do you know where the boy is? Duke Thermion, an honor to meet you here. Dane bowed at the precise depth a duke deserved. So this is the son you keep praising. At ease. It is an honor to meet you, Duke Thermion. What a dependable son you have here. Looks like you won't have to worry about him. So he's learning the spear like you? Dane heard a small footstep behind him, and then a softer voice. Greetings, Count Baubles. My name is Layla Thermion. It is an honor to meet you. An adult mind in a child's body had a birthday cake today. The ducal household had gathered to celebrate the young heir. A maid asked quietly how the Duchess was holding up. His mother was still ill, and everyone knew not to say it. Dane listened, 8 years old, and already reading the room. A bearded retainer arrived with another problem to solve. Lady Layla had vanished from the manor again. She had a fondness for slipping out unnoticed. The servants sighed. They had been here before. She had taken the young master with her this time. Out in the gardens, 2 small figures walked between hedges. She had not asked permission. Permission slowed her down. Layla led him through the imperial capital's quiet streets. She wanted to show him the place she had chosen for him. Dane already knew where this walk was heading. It appeared there was indeed somewhere she wanted him to be, and she was not going to stop until she got him there. The destination was an old building behind a tall iron gate. Layla announced it like a magician unveiling a trick. Dane's blue eyes did the polite work of looking impressed. The Academy of the Capital, she said, was the place for him. Even at 8, she insisted, his future started here. She wanted him admitted as the youngest enrollment in its history. Dane noted, dryly, that this was an incredibly hard sell. He tried the word no. It bounced off her. Layla had decided. He had not been told. He would test for the academy, she said, and pass, and he would do it as the family's pride. Dane said he didn't believe it. She asked if he was afraid of letting down the house. Not particularly. Layla admitted, plainly, that disappointing her would just be sad. She told him this place would take a look at his understanding. Layla beamed. The argument was clearly over, in her opinion. She told him to just follow her this time. Then steel hissed out of a scabbard somewhere behind them. A sword came down hard on Layla's blade. She met it with one of her own, loud, like a bell. An attacker had crashed down at them from the rooftops. Layla told Dane to stay behind her and watch. She moved like someone who had done this before. The fight ended faster than the surprise had started. She found it all rather delightful. Dane, behind her, was less amused. She told Dane this was a test the Academy could not give him. Real combat had a way of sharpening real students. Another attacker landed in the alley. He raised his blade with the wrong man's confidence. Dane decided this was about to be his test instead. He felt the missing piece of the puzzle click into place. A line of force snapped across the cobbles. The attacker stumbled. His sword hit the ground first. Layla stared, then grinned. "Thank you so much, Dane," Dane asked, with 8-year-old dignity, what she meant. She told him he had a real eye for that sort of thing. She had not put on a show. The attack had been real. Dane filed that fact away with the rest of the day's gifts. A voice cut in from across the lane. "Miss Layla." Their escort had finally caught up to them. "Time to go back," the man said. "Okay," said Dane. By dusk, they were back at the manor, and someone was waiting. His father stood by the table in a clean, dark coat. He offered sincerest congratulations on his 8th birthday. Dane thanked him politely. "Thank you, Father." There was a wrapped parcel on the table. A gift, of course. His father asked him, please to treasure it. The box held a slim ring sized for a child's hand. The ring would prove that he carried the family's name. Dane's blue eyes considered it, then his father, then the floor. "Grow up well," his father said. "The name awaits." Dane bowed. His coat had a small tear from the alley earlier. Then the manor's floor split open beneath his feet. The manor rumbled. Maids screamed in the corridor. Glass burst from somewhere upstairs. Something was breaking through. "Father," Dane said, eyes already moving past the noise. His father told him to get behind a wall and stay there. Dane considered the option. He preferred a different one. He raised his small hand. The room went very cold. Frost climbed the walls in a quiet hiss. Then the spell broke loose, a tower of ice and force. It ripped through the upper floor and out into the sky. Something out there screamed. The servants in the hall gasped. An 8-year-old had done that. The ice column held the night sky open for a moment. Then it shattered into a soft white rain. Maids stood in the foyer with their mouths open. Dane lowered his hand. His sleeves were a little frosted. "Would he like a cup of tea now?" someone asked. A blonde woman in a red coat stepped through the broken doors. She didn't seem to think the manor needed fixing yet. She told the staff this was no ordinary attack. Dane studied her. He had seen her face before, somewhere. She drew a long sword, and the steel rang clean. There was a monster in the sky over the manor. "A wyvern," the woman said, and this time it was Lady Claire. Dane was a step too late. He had not yet known the name. The staff led him down a hall, away from the danger. 2 blonde women were waiting at the end of the hall. Small boots stopped at the threshold. One of them said his name. Dane. "Happy birthday, little brother." The chapter ended there. Dane Sogres had been reborn into nobility, and today the family came to spoil him. His second sister joined the first. 2 birthday wishes, identical and rehearsed. He thanked them politely, the way small lords learn to thank. The eldest sister insisted he open her gift immediately. Inside the box, a dimensional pouch, subspace magic woven into cloth. She had designed it herself. Her professor, she added, did the actual work. Inside the pouch sat a second pouch, gleaming with mana. Storage within storage. She reached for his hand. The real gift was about to begin. She had keyed it to his blood. Nobody else in the world could use it. A silver ring with a small, exceedingly impractical blue stone. Dane noticed the faint pulse of mana. Highest grade stones, then. Feed it mana, she said, and a subspace would simply appear. He thanked her again, more carefully this time. Only commanders and noble battle mages owned such rings. Dane had been one in a past life. He slipped the ring on. Mana answered immediately. The subspace bloomed in golden light. The ring would grow with him. His father stared, white-faced. "Don't tell me." His sister's smile froze, somewhere between proud and offended. "You opened the subspace even faster than me?" she demanded. "You really are a genius, Dane." Her tone said, "Impossible." Mana, core, and circle, both. Even adults whispered the rumor. She handed him a second, smaller box. "Be careful with this one." He unwrapped it. An egg. Pale gold, freckled with red. "Why an egg?" he asked. "It's not just an egg," she warned. His parents leaned in. Even they did not know what it was. "It's a familiar," she said, lowering her voice. She had summoned Decaron, and this had come out instead. She had no idea what would hatch. But she knew this much. The world would consider it priceless. Familiars are not summons. Once they arrive, they stay forever. Permanent, bonded. The kind of gift kingdoms quietly start wars over. She lowered her voice. Nobody else was to know until it hatched. Pour mana into it daily, morning and night. That's all. The egg waited on the bed. He would feed it tonight. His sister beamed. Her gifts had clearly outshone the others. Mother asked if having his sister's home felt good. Of course it did. Father cleared his throat. "Princesses, perhaps greet your parents as well?" They both flinched and apologized. Dane had absorbed all their attention. The hall was warm again. A family, briefly intact. Father forgave them, smiling. "You all seem healthy. That's enough. You came for your younger brother. Now rest." "Yes, Father." The throne hall thinned out. Family business gave way to politics. A pink-haired girl lingered near the doorway, watching him. Dane caught the glance. He had felt it for a while. Layla, he wondered, is she leaving already? She walked toward the carriage, alone, smaller than her gown. She looked lonely. He could not say why he noticed. Outside, footsteps crossed the garden. Two men, walking and talking. His father spoke quietly. "Layla was more incredible than I expected, as expected of the best magician at the academy. She would suit my son. He's the best swordsman at the academy. If their two houses joined, even the imperial family would struggle to touch them. He would arrange the engagement today. Nobody would threaten his children again. Boots on stone, steel breathing somewhere ahead of him." Dane frowned. "Who is training this early in the morning?" A blue blade carved through the dawn. A small figure moved through forms. Practiced. Old, somehow, for someone so young. Dane closed in. Closer, closer, until he saw who it was. Dane's elder brother, mid-cycle. Each strike was clean enough to cut light. Dawn drills. The boy fought nothing, perfectly. The blade settled in his grip. A breath, then stillness. Blue light traced the brother's swing. A small storm in human shape. Above the courtyard, someone watched in silence. A bearded man, half hidden along the stone wall. He had heard the rumors. Watching them swing was different. Movements no 7-year-old should own. Battlefield veterans could learn from this. The brother twisted, parried air, advanced. "How is that even possible?" the bearded man muttered. He had heard the rumors since the boy was one. He shook his head. The rumors were polite. The truth is worse. Then, different footsteps on the stones. Lighter, approaching. The brother's strike landed on bare stone. Sparks flickered. Hidden above, the observer noticed the new arrival's stance. Trained, too. "Don't tell me the youngest one swings a blade, too?" Dane's hand caught the railing. He had heard everything. He looked up. "I don't know who you are, but come out. You'll save face." The bearded man froze. Darn, caught. Dane studied him through the gap. His movements felt familiar somehow. The man stepped from the alcove. "Sorry, Dane. I've seen your face somewhere." He bowed slightly. "I wasn't trying to steal a look at you." Dane's eyes widened. "Ah, it was you all along, Your Grace?" Dane composed himself. The visitor was no random spy. Dane Sogres, youngest son of House Sogres, greets Duke Thermion. Reborn into nobility, the boy carried 2 lifetimes of memory and 1 second chance. His older sister had walked him to the academy gate. She opened the teleporter and sent him home alone. He stepped out into a courtyard of falling petals. The estate gardens were waiting for him. Someone was already running to meet him. The household butler waited at the inner gate. He bowed and welcomed the young master back. A small nod was all the boy gave back. Lordly economy of motion at age 5. They crossed the inner garden together. Inside the manor, his mother was waiting. She knelt and took him into her arms. She asked how the entrance test had gone. The boy answered with a careful, practiced smile. His sister had walked him to the academy that morning. She had told him he could choose to walk home or take the gate. He had picked the gate, of course. He had legs of a 5-year-old. She had promised the mother and father exams would be next. Then she activated the teleporter. The light swallowed him whole. Magic, doing its quiet violence. Mother told him he had scored top of the entrance exam. He said thank you, politely, like the prince he had decided to play. She asked if he was nervous about the magic affinity test. Other noble children would gather here for that exam. His older sister had already passed hers years ago. All eyes would be on him next. His sister had opened the gate herself. Most nobles paid mages to teleport. His family had one in the bloodline. Mother and father had business at court soon. "That's a shame," he said. "But let's go back." The butler bowed. "Yes, young master." Bowing was, after all, his entire job. The household servants lined the hall to greet him. He climbed the marble staircase to his own private wing. The life of a noble, he thought, was really not so bad. And in the garden, a single flower was waiting for him. His sister had gifted him a private flower bed. A blue butterfly drifted down to inspect his crops. Approval, of a sort. Flowers, she had told him, held the most mana in nature. He had time to spare. He decided to practice. Red petals lifted around him as he focused. He had been training every day since the rebirth. Past lives had taught him to sense mana before he understood it. He was still deciding which talent to specialize in. Having too many talents, it turned out, was its own kind of problem. He breathed in. The petals began to move. He could feel the mana inside the flower. Small, but humming. He pulled it in and let it spiral through him. This body's affinity, he realized, was off the charts. 2 past lives of training. 1 blessed bloodline. The math was favorable. He'd hidden the result, of course. A prodigy still had to act surprised. The petals settled back around his feet. He brushed his coat clean. Evidence was for amateurs. He decided to take a walk before dinner. The estate had paths he hadn't yet explored. He had no idea who was watching from the hedges. The first path led him to the western gardens. There, someone was waiting. A red-haired boy his own age, arms crossed and waiting. His older brother. Same father, different mother. Until last year, the family heir. Then the MC was born, and everything tilted. The brother stepped forward, smile a little too bright. "Aren't you the one who topped the exam? Mother told me to come congratulate you." The MC studied the smile. He'd seen sharper knives. The brother spoke of duty, of honor, of the family name. "Like father, like son," he said. The MC did not love that line. Then the brother told him to know his place. And then he swung a fist. The MC did not move. The fist hit a wall of air and stopped. Then it went back the other way, very fast. The brother landed in the dirt. "Big brother!" someone screamed. A young attendant came running, eyes wide. The attendant skidded to a stop on the path, blood on the brother's lip. Worse, blood on his pride. "I'll kill that bastard," the brother snarled. The MC tilted his head, almost curious. 2 lifetimes of war versus 1 spoiled noble. The odds were settled. Go ahead, the MC said. Try it. Two noble brothers wanted blood. Dane was 8 years old. Brother, we should take care of your nose. You sit still, the older Tyren had decided. Dane slipped past the swing like he'd done it 100 times. Crap, this slippery little rat. His footwork was trained. This was not a child playing tag. Then is he a mage or a summoner? Bro, the younger one was already on the ground. This brat is so fast, I can't catch him. He remembered the flow of magic he had seen earlier. If he could shape that force into a physical thing, he could compress it, test it. He smiled. The plan was simple. The plan was rude. He raised one small hand. The air thickened. The blast hit the older brother square in the chest. Ah! Degron flew backward through the rose bushes. Bro, the flower bed was now a crater. Somebody's gardener was going to cry. Oh no, the flower bed is totally ruined. Shit, to think you can use magic. Who are you? You get out of my way. I'm going to kill that bastard. Degron tore a summoning circle open. A red shape pushed through. He was a summoner, huh? Dane was mildly curious. Mildly. The portal spat smoke, fangs, and a very loud snarl. A wolf the size of a horse landed in the garden. This is my summon, Gendpu. Rip that bastard to pieces. Dane studied the beast. A mere wolf-class summon. Quite lacking compared to Sister Claire, who can summon a wyvern. That's it! Rip that bastard's throat! The wolf lunged. Dane did not move. The beast's eye, full of murder, met his. Then it veered, past him, into the marble. Stone exploded. Dane was already 2 steps to the left. Degron stared. His own summon had missed. On purpose, maybe. The Tyren brothers looked at each other. Something was very wrong. What's going on? Genpu, hurry up and rip that bastard's throat. Brother, he's wagging his tail. Gendpu was, in fact, wagging his tail. Dane scratched its ear. Good boy. Even Sister Claire's wyvern had been friendly. He had assumed that was the family blood. But this wolf had no blood tie to him, so either his favorability with beasts was very high, or Degron's had simply hit rock bottom. That doesn't make sense. How can a summon betray their master? So, do you want to continue? Dane asked, very polite. This little brother, let's just go. We've lost. Be quiet. I'm going to cancel my summon right now. He undid the link. The wolf vanished. The younger brother did not. The younger brother had wet himself, visibly, audibly. For your information, the bathroom is in basement level 1 of the main castle. Ch-ch, you wait right there. I'll be right back. Let's go, Dinar. They ran. Dane stood with the wolf they forgot to take. Hey, at least take your summon with you. The truth was simpler than they thought. It was a trick Sister Claire had taught him. Find the thin thread between summoner and beast, then overwrite it with your own. Gendpu had simply switched masters mid-charge. A child who had never officially summoned anything had just stolen a summon mid-fight. Is that the brat who bullied you? A new voice. Older, heavier. Yes, it's that bastard. Ha, that idiot escalated things. Not only did he bully me and Dinar, he canceled my link with Gendpu. My name is Mogard Tyren. I am the head of the Tyren Count family, one of the capital's great nobles. Are you the brat who made my son's face like this, and forcefully took his summon? Yes, that's right. Dane looked him over. He looks fatter than the time I captured him as a prisoner. Peace, he thought, really is great. As an invited guest, I planned to let it pass if possible. But this, I absolutely cannot overlook. Why are you in a place like this alone? Reveal your identity. Dane Sogres, youngest son of Argrik Sogres, Lord of the South, head of the Sogres Count family. Mogard Tyren went pale. What? This brat was Dane? A 7-year-old had just embarrassed a noble. The noble was now plotting his revenge. Word had reached him that another noble, Argrik, held the Sogres heir as prisoner. This man was Tyren. He smelled opportunity the way dogs smell meat. He would pin the blame on Count Sogres and demand mining rights as compensation. The nobles who once mocked him, he decided, would soon bow. He turned to the birthday boy himself. "You're Dane, aren't you? You wounded my son, a guest you yourself invited. This is a grave crime." Tyren added theft of his family's summon. The list was, conveniently, growing. Dane, age 7, said nothing yet. He was already 3 moves ahead. The man's intentions, even a child could read like cheap print. "Yes, I understand," Dane said. "But before that, I expect an apology." Tyren turned purple. The crowd, sensing weather, took a step back. Dane admitted hitting the boy. He explained it was self-defense, and I didn't steal his summon. Gendpu simply chose to follow me. Tyren's son shrieked back. The boy could lie with terrifying ease. A nearby noble suggested the Sogres' daughter, a known prodigy, had taught Dane the trick. Even if true, he said, theft of a summon still demanded an apology. "And you expect us to apologize first?" he asked. "Yes," Dane said. "That's right." His tone was very polite. Among the nobles, this read as the most arrogant sentence ever spoken. Tyren's patience ran out. "Even talking to this boy gives me a headache. Let's see what Count Sogres has to say about all this." Dane's eyes narrowed. The man seemed strangely eager for that conversation. A voice cut in from the path. "You were looking for me, father?" Dane turned. Count Sogres had arrived, and he had not come alone. "The Duke Thermion came too!" Dane's older sister stepped forward. "I got lost in the garden with my little brother." Duke Thermion studied Dane and smiled. "That really is just like father. He cares for his family," the sister said, "but he is fair to outsiders. Even in disputes, he can tell right from wrong." Dygron took the floor. His version of events involved a vicious headbutt. "He stole my summon. He tried to attack me." The boy was excellent at theater. The sister smiled. "He lies so smoothly. I'm eager to see how he turns out." Tyren stepped up to the Count, all manners and warmth. "I only meant to warn the boy. Stealing a summon is another matter." Count Sogres simply refused to rule on half a story. And to keep this fair, Duke Thermion will give his opinion as well. The Duke gave a small nod. Tyren's afternoon was, unmistakably, slipping. Tyren said nothing. Inside, he was cursing the Duke's perfect timing. Damn. Thermion getting involved is going to make this complicated. Duke Thermion turned to the boy. "Dane, explain yourself." Dane drew a breath. He had been waiting for someone reasonable to ask. "Some of what Tyren's son said is true," he admitted. "But he trampled our garden roses. I asked him to leave. He was the one who lost his temper. He grabbed me first." Dygron cracked. That's a lie. When did I—" The Duke did not look away from Dane. "Continue." "When he summoned Gendpu," Dane said quietly. "His command was to kill me. And I did not steal his summon. The creature came to me on its own." The Duke blinked. "What 7-year-old talks like that?" Tyren slammed his hand on the table. "Nonsense! A summon cannot submit to someone who isn't even a summoner. He must have used some kind of secret technique." "No," Dane said. "I have an innate affinity with summons. A summon not close enough to its master will choose someone like me." The nobles exchanged glances. "Is that really possible?" "Yes," Dane said. "It's true. No qualification, no hedge." Tyren laughed too loudly. "He's not seriously asking us to believe that?" The Duke shrugged. "Each story differs. Let's settle this with a summon." Tyren paled. The Duke kept butting in at the worst possible moments. Count Sogres turned to his son. "Dane, can you prove it?" "Yes, father." Dane nodded once. "But Dygron tried to summon Gendpu first." "What? I can't summon him." Tyren panicked. "Dygron, what's wrong? Summon it, quickly." Father, I can't." The boy's hands were shaking. "How can you suddenly fail at something you do every day?" Dane explained, calm as a teacher. "I severed the link. He cannot summon Gendpu." "Father, I will summon Gendpu now. I just need Dygron's sign." Dygron sputtered. "My sign? Another summoner's sign can't possibly work." "Then there's no harm in lending it," Dane said, smiling. The Duke nodded slowly. "Could it not prove your words true?" Tyren realized the boy had built this trap brick by brick. He turned to his son. Hand the sign over, now. But father, Digron for once looked his age. Hurry up, Dane said. The sign was already in his palm. Blue light bloomed across the courtyard. The garden held its breath. A summon sign should only obey its owner, usually. But Dane had filled Gendpu with his own mana. The sign was just a doorway. Dane closed his eyes. The bond on the other side was already his. Light split the air. Something old and large was answering. Gendpu landed beside him, towering. A child commanded an ice dragon. The creature lowered its head to greet him. Gently, Tyren and his son stood frozen. Father, how did my Gendpu— This is impossible, Tyren whispered. Amazing, the Duke murmured back. The Duke turned to the Count. You said the boy never learned anything? Count Sogres looked at his son for a long moment. That's correct. Dane patted the dragon's snout. And thank you for showing up. Tyren went pale. Damn, this has turned into a disaster. What do we do? We've confirmed his summon. The Duke turned to him. Do you acknowledge it? Dane was telling the truth. Tyren swallowed his pride 1 careful inch at a time. We were mistaken about the summon. My son wasn't trying to kill Dane. Isn't that right, Digron? The boy understood the cue immediately. Yes, I was just trying to scare him. I never meant to kill him. Count Sogres and the Duke exchanged a small, knowing glance. Tyren sighed. This punk just keeps going on and on, even now. It's not true, he barked, suddenly loud again. A bead of sweat ran down Dane's cheek. The grown-ups were not finished. Beyond the manor walls, a girl in pink stepped from the night. Layla? Dane had just won the duel. The hard part was about to start. Layla bowed. Sweet, polite, perfectly timed. Count Tyren realized this child was the Duke's daughter. Dane's father pressed. He wanted the whole story. Layla had heard their conversation during her walk. The moon kept watch over the courtyard. Thanks to Layla, things were going very smoothly. Count Sogres wanted the apology offered to his son, not himself. Tyren shoved his son's head down. Quickly, Digron! Digron's boots stopped just short of Dane's. Sorry, Dane. The words came out flat as a coin. A third-party witness had come forward. Tyren had no choice. Dane didn't want to accept. Past lives had taught him better. Generosity, he decided, would pay better in the long run. All right, I accept your apology. Digron forced out a thank you through gritted teeth. Count Tyren exhaled. Phew, that was close. It was not, in fact, close. Personally, said Dane's father, I have no intention of letting this slide. You tried to kill my son with your summon. Count Sogres, that wasn't— Tyren never finished the sentence. Take your family and leave this castle. Tyren had ridden all this way for nothing. He needed to stay in the castle, at all costs. Count, please forgive us. I'll do anything you ask. He grabbed for the hand of the man he had just tried to wrong. I have no need for you, Sogres said. Final. Soldiers would be sent to Tyren's room shortly. Let us go, Duke. Tyren had run out of counts to beg. The Duke was not in a mood to negotiate. Come on, Layla. Dane and the Duke's daughter turned to leave. Serves you right. They started it. Dane noted, privately, that his father got terrifying when angry. Is that true? You defeated him with a mana bullet? Spearmanship, summoning, now magic. The Duke was running out of categories. Sogres allowed himself a small, paternal smile. Talent was one thing, said the Duke. The boy was also calm. Sogres demurred. It was too early to say, he said. Today's incident was resolved peacefully, thanks to Layla. Without her testimony, things could have turned ugly. The Duke's eyes lit up. Oh? Does he see Layla in a good light? Then how about we talk about their marriage? Sogres' brain made a small, polite, emergency sound. Oh my, look at that sunset. Almost time for the banquet. I'll just be leaving to get ready, Sogres announced. Already leaving. Key Count Sogres. The Duke watched his prey vanish. Sir Arkan, let us talk a little. He would not. The moon hung over the courtyard. There was no stopping father. Anyway, Layla asked, why did the summon obey you instead? She had seen summoners duel in the capital. Never like that. I'm not sure either, Dane lied politely. It just kinda happened. You're hiding it, aren't you? Not fair. Even though I helped you. Not fair, Dane countered. He had taught her swordsmanship, after all. Ah, now that I think about it, you're right. Well, she had been a big help tonight. Let's say we both helped each other once, and we can do it one more time. Wow, great idea. Layla wanted to cash in immediately. So impatient, Dane thought. What could she possibly want? Teach me how to use mana bullet. What? Why do you want to know that? Because I want to grow stronger, of course. 2 mana cores before the academy. That was her plan. She wanted to make her mother happy. Her mother loved her a lot. Right. He had heard the adults talk. Countess Thermion was bedridden. All right, if that's why, I can't exactly refuse you. Really? Let's start tomorrow, or tonight. All right, do whatever you want. Mana bullet's not too hard once you understand the flow of magic. Dane, your turn. What's your request? What he wanted. Dane thought it over. Below, the castle waited for the banquet to begin. Inside, the gossip was already pouring. Did you hear? Count Tyren got kicked out of the castle. His eldest picked a fight with young Master Dane and got taught a lesson. Came all this way, caused a scene. Tick, embarrassing. Rumor says the boy is also an outstanding summoner and uses magic. Oh my, is that even possible? House Sogres was suddenly on every tongue. Young Master Dane, the one from rumors. Baron Opent introduced himself. Famous for grilled trout and sapphire. Dane knew. At any rate, I brought my daughter as well. There, say hello, Sylvia. A small blue shoe stepped into view. Hi, my name is Sylvia. It's nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm Dane. Sylvia did not waste time. You're the one inheriting the Sogres house, right? Whoa, what? I don't really know. Don't feign ignorance. Sylvia took his hand and made it family business. Why are kids these days so straightforward? The prodigy's plan looked simple. Of course, plans never stay that way. His blue-haired companion raised a quiet objection. The pink-haired one had no such restraint. She wanted in. She wanted in immediately. Permission was granted. Reluctantly. 3 young mages. 1 shared destination. Tea was poured. Stakes were quietly raised. Outside the window, the world kept its secrets. By nightfall, they had a route and a problem. Travel was discussed. Travel was, apparently, not optional. He asked who else would be coming along. The answer landed with practiced calm. Only the 3 of them. For now. Then the carriage rolled out into the dawn. The capital shrank behind them. Hours passed. The girls slept like trained mages. He stayed awake. Habit, mostly. By dusk, the forest swallowed the road. The forest was older than the kingdom that owned it. It did not care who was passing through. The pink-haired girl admired everything, loudly. The blue-haired one scanned the canopy for threats. Their guide knelt at a marker in the moss. The mark was old. The path was older. She announced she would lead. Nobody objected. They walked deeper. Light thinned to gray. The blue-haired girl whispered a warding sign. The trees here grew like they were hiding something. She announced a rest stop. 2 votes carried it. He drifted off the path while they bickered. Something was wrong with the silence. No birds, no wind, just the hum of old magic. He found a clearing, or rather, it found him. Stone steps led down into the moss. A ruin, older than the family name he carried. He stepped inside without asking permission. Permission, in his experience, never arrived first. Inside, the air felt borrowed from a tomb. Vines had eaten most of the carvings, but not all of them. Names were still legible. He read them. He recognized one. His expression did not change. His pulse did. He kept walking. Curiosity has its own gravity. A chamber opened up at the end of the hall. Someone was already there, armored, waiting. The sword stayed in its scabbard. Barely. Neither of them spoke first. That was already a conversation. The stranger looked older than his armor allowed. He asked whose child had wandered this far. The boy gave a name, not necessarily his. The knight smiled like he already knew. He gestured at the carvings on the wall, said the place had been waiting a long time. The boy asked, politely, for what? The knight didn't answer with words. He answered with a relic, glowing faintly. Outside, the pink-haired girl noticed he was missing. She handled the discovery with characteristic restraint, which is to say, she shrieked his name into the trees. The blue-haired girl traced a finding charm. The charm pointed somewhere it shouldn't have. Straight down, into the moss, into the stone. They ran. The forest let them for once. The clearing opened where it had no business being. She slowed at the steps. Something inside was glowing. Inside, the chamber had changed since he entered. The relic now hovered, patient as a question. The knight asked if he would take it. The boy asked what it cost. A wise question, the knight admitted. Outside, 2 cultivators heard the noise. They chose, wisely, not to enter. The boy reached for the relic anyway. His hand stopped a finger's width away. Then the girl's footsteps echoed down the hall. He pulled his hand back. The relic dimmed. The knight, polite as ever, vanished into the stone. The pink-haired girl burst in first. She demanded an explanation. She wanted 3. The blue-haired girl checked the walls for traps. He gave a perfectly reasonable answer. He had been admiring the stonework. Nothing more. Neither girl believed him. Both let it pass. They left together. The chamber held its breath. He watched the girls walk ahead, suddenly quiet. Something about them had shifted in the ruin. He looked back once. The doorway was gone. He decided for now to pretend he had seen nothing. At 7 years old, Dane was already called a genius. He did not find it useful. The pink-haired girl praised him plainly. To her, Dane was the real thing. The other 2 had quietly left them. She had clearly planned that. "Are you going to the academy as well?" she asked. The academy gathered every genius in the empire. Dane did not feel he needed it. "You idiot. Studying alone isn't everything. That's how you form a noble faction." She was, in his opinion, alarmingly informed for a 7-year-old. He laughed quietly. He had been older than this once. The library still held a mountain of books. His parents still had things to teach him. "True," she said. "But don't you ever want to play with kids your age?" The moon hung over them like a witness. She was, he thought, dangerously persistent. He admitted he might go someday, if he felt like it. "You have to tell me when you do, okay?" she insisted. When he visited, he was to stay at her house. Apparently, it was already decided. He promised a letter if he ever planned the trip. Then she demanded he tell her the moment he arrived. He grinned and refused. Her shock was immediate. "What?" Morning came. The carriage waited at the gate. "We'll be off," her family announced. Goodbyes began. His father placed a small box in his hands. Dane's eyes went wide. "What is this?" he asked. "Your birthday present," said the Duke. "I hope you like it." Dane studied it carefully. It looked, frankly, valuable. House Thermion stood on 3 symbols: revenge, the sword, and the blacksmith. Their first ancestor had been a smith. Every imperial blade still passed through his forge. Best forge in the empire, no, on the continent. Every ore in the world found its way to that fire. Mystical weapons, artifacts, the kind of work that decided wars. "Show this insignia," his father said, "and they will make any weapon you choose." A certified check, basically, stamped with the family's honor. Layla's father went pale. My word, such a precious insignia. Even the imperial family wanted one. The Duke had handed it to a 7-year-old. "Grow well," his father told him, "and help me." Layla's father bowed. "Thank you for this, Duke." Layla said nothing. Her eyes did the work. His mother knelt beside him. "Are you sad to see her go, Dane?" "Yes, very. She's practically my first friend." Across the courtyard, Layla pretended not to hear that. His mother grinned. "Then become more handsome and shock her." "Stay well until then, Layla," he said quietly. The carriage rolled out of Thermion lands. Inside, Layla's father went quiet. "It's quite odd. Every time I look at Dane," he said, "I am reminded of that man." Argrik, a triple-class warrior at an age no one believed. Had he lived, he would have been a hexaclass knight of the Drenic Empire. The escort rode hard. The capital was still many days away. He looked back once more. "Dane, I wish to see your grown self soon." The knights rode on through the white road, until the carriage was just a speck on the horizon. Back at the estate, the days turned over without him. Morning and night, Dane fed mana to the egg. Still nothing. An egg holding a mysterious familiar. Maybe too early to hatch. Imprint the egg before it hatched. and the summon stayed with you forever. Most summons only stick around temporarily. He wanted a permanent one. His mana had to match the familiars. The conditions were tricky. Some eggs never hatched at all. The conditions never met. He hoped this wasn't one. He shifted the flow of his mana. Stronger, slower, thinner. No reaction. He sighed. Hoping to succeed in one go was, perhaps, greedy. "Young master," Hermann called from the hall. "Are you ready?" "Coming," Dane answered. He moved to set the egg down. And then, a tiny sound. A click against his palm. He froze. "I definitely just heard something." "Young master," Hermann said. "What did I just hear?" He checked. Nothing. He told himself he had imagined it. Out in the courtyard, the sword left his hand and never quite came down. He moved through the form like he had done it 1,000 times, because technically he had. Hermann's jaw was somewhere near the gravel. "Amazing, young master. When did you train with a sword?" Dane just shrugged, wanted to swing it a little. Hermann shook his head. As expected of the genius, learning a new weapon had been fun, and, thankfully, he hadn't lost his touch. Inside, a maid set down a tray. "Please, some snacks before you continue." Dane accepted a cookie with the dignity of a small statesman. Elsewhere in the house, his father stood by the window. "The same banquet every year gets tiring." "Still," he admitted, "we gained a lot at the last one." Many nobles were turning their gaze toward the south. They wanted to be friends. After the war, the South's climate held many things nobles coveted, but none of that compared to the attention Dane himself had drawn. The clash with Count Tyren's eldest son had been a surprise. Dane had answered it calmly in front of grown men and proved his talent. His father sighed. "He's too mature. I wish he would act his age just once." The hall clock ticked. It'll soon be time to go." The Duke crossed the gallery. He had decided to give his son a present. From the armory, he chose a name first whispered by old kings. Dragontail. "Let's," he murmured, "make him swing it a bit today." Dane Sogres was 6 years old and already too dangerous to ignore. Today's lesson was the sword. He had never been taught. He swung anyway. The instructor backed up a step. Watching from the side, the staff began to whisper. The Duke trained him with a spear, so why a sword? And yet he was swinging it like he'd been born holding one. He paused. He had, perhaps, been showing off. His skill was beyond imitation, beyond any boy's practice. The boy realized, too late, that he had been watched. When, he wondered, had he learned any of this? His father approached. The voice was warm. The eyes were not. "Dane, I have been watching you. When did you learn the sword?" Lying to his father seemed unwise, so he didn't. "I didn't learn it," Dane said. "It is talent, then. Spear, magic, assassination, summoning, now swords." The list kept growing. "Dane," his father asked, "are you curious about the world?" The boy blinked. Pardon? The world? Beyond the county walls, the places he had never seen. His father feared this county was too small to hold him. If he stayed, the world would be the one losing out. Dane heard the truth underneath. His father could not hold him forever. "Honestly," Dane admitted, "yes, I am curious." Then it was settled. The Duke would prepare him to leave. Today, the Duke had brought something special, something heavy. Dragontail, the spear that had reacted to Dane on his first birthday. "Here, try holding it." Dane took the haft. The room held its breath. The spear answered. Blue light spilled across his hands. "Amazing! There is so much power in here." It reacted to him stronger than it had as a baby. Now nobody could doubt the boy, not even his father. "Master the spear before you leave. Be ready." "This spear will one day be yours," the Duke said. "Until then, grow strong enough to wield it with pride." Dane bowed, calm. "Stronger than a dragon tail, sure. I will wield your teachings with pride, father." The Duke beamed, as expected of his son. Training began at once. He did not wait long. That night, Dane lay awake. The outside world. He had always been curious about it. Now he could go. In his life as in Sogres, all the Duke had known was war. Tidy the camp, clean the weapons, eat bland food, sharpen the spear, sleep an hour, go to battle. The only way out was to end the war, or die in it. Just those two ways. He had never imagined another life. But Dane was different. Dane would have a choice. What the world would make of his talent, nobody knew. What Dane would do in the world was up to Dane. Outside, the manor breathed. The decision settled in him. He could travel anywhere. He could accomplish anything. For a while, he had wanted only this: home, warmth, family. But Father's question had changed something in him. All right, then. Out he would go. So you have made a decision, son. Dane jumped. Nobody was supposed to be in this room. His mother smiled. She had been there the whole time. You were so deep in thought you did not hear me knock. Yes, Dane admitted. Father said staying would waste my talent. And, he thought, the outside world had begun to call. I'm sorry, Mother. She pulled him close. Do not apologize, Dane. His sisters were gone. Now he was leaving too. I am fine, she said. I know your talent. Even if Dane resisted, the world would come for him eventually. Better, she said, that he chose the door himself. So go, Dane. Do what you want to do. Yes, Mother. Even if I leave, I will come home often. And I will tell you everything I see in the world. Thank you, my son. Then she paused. Then she smiled. It seems I will need to prepare you too, just like your father. She had planned to teach him tracking, slowly, over years. Now it would be tracking, ambushes, traps, and corpse disposal. Dane blinked. Mother apparently had a different curriculum. She smiled like a sunrise. And human anatomy, of course. Yes, Dane sighed. If I want to leave, I will get ready. Somewhere out there, the world was already burning for him. The war ended years ago. The Count keeps reminding everyone, kindly. Sogres County in the southern Altheon Empire. Quiet, prosperous, warm climate, good soil, excellent at not being on fire. A cornerstone of the empire, kept fed so it would not tire. The Count of Sogres ruled fairly, won quietly. The rebels were swept up. The roads stayed open. An era of peace, the kind people start believing will last. And then, after a long absence, he returned. The women of Sogres had opinions, specifically on the young master's face. One had heard he was unbetrothed. She intended, she said, to try. Wake up, said her friend. He is 14. He does not look 14. Reasonably said, not a defense. Already as tall as his father, they whispered. Already too much. And there he was, walking through his own town like a rumor made flesh. He could pass for 20. The women agreed on this, urgently. When does he come back to town? I'll need to be standing somewhere. Someone mentioned the forest keeper. He saw the boy in the woods, too. Then we go through the forest keeper first. You are not actually doing this. Beyond the wall, a different country began. The outskirts of Sogres County, quieter, less polite. Crows scattered out of the trees. Something below had moved. The forest of the last days. Old magic still slept in its soil. Dane Sogres, 14, running his mother's escape drill in the deep forest. Lily Sogres had set the course. Her son was meant to survive it. He tasted the air. The wind was coming out of the south. He had seen a Cheryl spider this way last time. West, then. Around. 3 hours of daylight left. He intended to be out before dark. Something dark moved between the trees ahead. A bird, settling. Not a threat, not yet. He shifted his stance anyway. A boy taught not to assume. Hood up, blade low. He moved like someone older. Rule 1 of assassination, his mother said. Do not get seen. She had laid traps and nets through the woods. He had to dodge everyone and exit the forest, which has its own opinions about visitors. He went forward. The forest watched, the way old places do. Then he saw what the air had been hiding. Thin strings, nearly transparent. They filled the clearing. Old, polite, completely murderous. Hidden traps, slowly resolving as he looked. Touch a string. Wake the mechanism. Simple, his mother would say. The basic snare. Also the deadliest, if you stop respecting it. This one, however, was easy to disarm. He almost felt insulted. Quiet hands. 2 fingers. The trap forgot it had a job. Then his head snapped around. Something was wrong. Eyes in the underbrush, teeth, and several sets of them. A Russell pack, the kind of luck nobody trains for. They were not supposed to be here. They were here anyway. It can't be helped, he murmured. He sounded almost bored. The lead Russell snarled. Up close, much less cute. Plan changed. Leave first. Survive first. The pack screamed, and the forest answered. More Russells poured out of the dark. Many more. Dane bolted. Not running away, running toward something. The first Russell hit the strings. The forest's old trap remembered exactly what it was for. Wires whipped. Branches dropped. The clearing turned into a verdict. One down, fast. The pack did not slow. The next ones followed. Same string, same answer. The forest cleared its own pests with a child for bait. They fell for it, Dane said. I didn't even have to fight. The clearing went still. The Russells hung where they had run. Then Dane noticed something behind the strings was also still. Something the Russells had been running from. It opened its mouth. The forest, for once, had nothing polite to say. Dane Sogres was killing something in the forest. Again. Ugh, it's fast, he muttered, which was rude of the beast. The beast answered with a spray of something green. Dane stepped out of the way. The grass behind him did not. Whatever it spat, he decided, was best avoided personally. He circled. The forest gave him room to do so. I can't waste my time here. The beast briefly disagreed. He moved first. The beast screamed. The forest noticed. Dane raised his blade. Mana followed it up. A cold wind cut sideways through the trees. Then he came down on it. The beast collapsed in two halves. Tidy work. He sat down. Killing things was tiring. Ugh, I think I'm going to throw up, he announced professionally. Something moved between the trees. Is there something else? He asked, already knowing the answer. Damn it, just when I let my guard down. He picked his sword back up. The forest waited. Mother, Dane said, lowering his guard at the wrong threat. His mother walked down between the trees. Impressive, Dane. 3 hours, 30 minutes, faster than I ever was. Were you watching the whole time? Of course. I can't just leave you alone. I know your talent, but mothers see things differently. Amazing. I couldn't find a single fault. Are you hurt at all? No, I'm fine. Really? You'll get scouted as an assassin at this rate. She held out a dagger. He stared. This is Nighthorn. Your dagger. Can I really take it? Of course. I won't be using it anyway. Nighthorn was forged from ethyl ore. It drank the nature of whatever it touched. Cut something poisonous, and it stored the poison for later. Dane already knew what to do with it. Thank you, Mother. I'll treat it well. They turned back toward home. Something cried out in the trees behind them. Mother, did you hear that as well? It seems someone else is in the forest, which, this deep in, meant trouble. Hours later, at the Sogres family annex tower, an old man jolted awake, screaming. Where am I? He asked the ceiling, which kept its opinions. I was definitely eating mushrooms in the forest. Then a door opened. You're awake. You're still being detoxified. Please don't move. A young man. Did you save me? Yes. You ate a red-nosed mushroom. We found you in time. A red-nosed mushroom? A little later and you'd be a corpse. The old man went quiet. He had been close. Here, drink some water. Ah, thank you. His belt carried the insignia of the Nixian magic tower. Without Nighthorn, Dane could not have pulled the poison out at all. Where am I? The Sogres County Annex Tower. Sogres County? His face did some mathematics. So I got lost, poisoned, and walked all the way here. Please rest. I've sent for my father. He'll come see you. Wait, then who are you? Dane Sogres, youngest son of Count Sogres. Then you're the younger brother of Arabella, the genius every magic tower wants. Even as an 8-chain mage, I lost my way in that forest. The flow of mana reversed mid-spell. My body fell apart. Is that so? Dane said. That forest holds ancient mana. It's our property, dangerous to anyone outside our family. The mana flows differently there. For a modern mage, it's the worst place to be. So I really nearly died there, the old man said quietly. Then a worse thought arrived. Wait, Is this boy strong enough to train in there? And the antidote. Did you make that too? Yes, I did. The boy looked at most 16. An antidote like that needed knowledge and skill and a perfectly steady hand. How, the old mage breathed, can a family like this exist? 2 generational geniuses already, and now this third one in his teens. If the Empire were still at war, this would matter very much. House Sogres might already be the most powerful name in the Altheon Empire. The old mage owed his life to a boy. He intended to pay every coin of it. I am Tyren Gauss. Once, I led the Nixon Magic Tower. He offered the boy anything he wanted, a blank check in mage form. Dane considered the offer with the energy of a man inspecting wallpaper. Most people fawned over a tower master. This child did not. You won't get a chance like this again. Tell me what you want. I'll take my time to think about it, Dane said. Tyren's smile froze, indifferent, even to the end. What kind of child is this? Dane left him a cup of water and the door, in that order. Alone in the borrowed bed, Tyren stared at the ceiling. No one has ever treated me like this. I should have left already. He smiled toward the window. I'll need a closer look at that boy. The head of a magic tower had taken an interest. Dane did not yet know. From what I've heard, he's an 8-chain mage. Herman, the family attendant, processed the news at half speed. 8-chain, then he ranks higher than Lady Arabella. Young master, a very powerful figure now owes you a debt. On this continent, magic towers stood like nations of their own. Dane thought of the white-haired man in the woods. So that was a king. But why was a tower master wandering the forest of the last days? Mages called that place forbidden, a place where mages stopped being mages. Herman, bring me a new sword. The current ones are too short. A long sword by morning, Herman promised, mentally rearranging his afternoon. He remembered another sword, one given to him 7 years ago. The crest from Duke Thermion, a gift that opened doors. If I travel to the capital, I have to call on him. Dane, you're back early. Training looks brutal today. Dane's father had returned. He was a duke, and he was smiling. I had a reason to hurry home. The reason had silver hair. Because of the head of the magic tower? More or less. He could be useful for Arabella, perhaps. His father had hoped the tower master might help Arabella, his elder sister. Though Arabella did punch a senior in the face, hard to recommend her. In any case, you did well saving a man's life, Dane. I did what had to be done, said the boy who had just rewritten his life. It is not something just anyone can do. What you did was amazing. Dane asked after his sisters. The Duke sighed about distant daughters. Arabella was joining a magic tower. Claire was teaching at the academy. Your sisters are impressive, but I have high hopes for you. I wonder how the world will handle a boy with so many talents. The Duke laughed alone, thinking of duels he'd already lost to his guard. He remembered a rival blade, Duke Thermion. I want to cross blades with that man again someday. There was also Layla. He hadn't had a letter from her in nearly a year. Well, I'll find out when I get to the capital myself. Days passed. The mage stayed. The boy got restless. What? Not fully recovered? I'm about to go stir-crazy in this room. Magic forbidden. Poison still in his veins. The doctor's verdict delivered. It's been a while since I held magic. A change of pace will do me good. I can't stand being here any longer. Take me outside. Herman accepted his fate. If the mage caused chaos, he would absorb it. He had a working theory. Mages were either geniuses or maniacs. Tyren had walked every floor of the manor, twice in one morning. The maids had a verdict ready. He's a powerful mage, sure. He's also nuts. Meanwhile, Dane sat in the garden, alone among the flowers. The roses here were enchanted. Subtle magic, woven petal by petal. I would never have guessed these flowers held such magic. Footsteps behind him. Soft shoes on stone. He did not turn. I came to see how you were doing, so this is where you hide. Did you think I'd run off somewhere? Tyren laughed at his own joke. This region is lovely. I can see why nobles vacation here. A shame, though. I have to be on my way soon. To the capital. Not far. The academy needs me. Your sisters are there too, I believe. You'll see them soon enough. You'll have an easy life there. Sidrain's smile sharpened. Slightly. His sisters are famous for talent. I wonder how much this one has. Should I take a quick look? Just a peek. He won't notice. He had not planned to peek at a child's soul today. The day had other ideas. Sidrain reached out with the lightest possible probe of mana. What is this thick mana? His mana is unbelievably dense. If geniuses his age ran like streams, this boy ran like a flooded river. Mana that dense should burst out? Why didn't it? How was it held? Don't you think reading another mage without permission is a bit rude? Sidrain apologized. He did not stop staring. There was no way. There was no possible way. And yet, could there really be a person who carries mana this dense in a boy? Sidrain went silent. The garden held its breath with him. Dane only frowned. What had the old man just seen in him?